draw some windows with me. So I'm starting off by just drawing a square, and then what I'll do is I'll draw possibly another square, and then some rectangles, and then some other squares, and distributing these across the page in a nice sort of I don't know what you would call it, but it's not a very symmetrical, it's quite asymmetrical, but it's still balanced, like in the composition, I think. When you have a few of these shapes, I could have left it like this, but it just wasn't balanced enough for me, so I added this last one in the bottom corner, and that looked like a nice balance for me. So I'm just going to draw the inside of these frames now. What they're going to look like, what I had imagined, was that they would be windows and we would see something outside of that window. One of the easiest things and one of the most satisfying things for me to draw are vines and leaves. Of course, if you know me by now, you'll know that I also enjoy straight lines, but there's something about the curve of a line that is really, really satisfying when you actually got the pen to paper and you're drawing it. It just really is quite therapeutic for me. So this is what we've got now, and I'll just start by drawing this line through the background. So you've got those frames that are like in the foreground, right? That's your wall with the windows. And what I'm doing is I'm just imagining the line through the back and then out the window like that. So that's the foundation of the vines for me. I just like to keep it simple, and then I'm going to do some very simple leaves. Now you can take this to another level if you like and just draw some more complicated leaves. You could draw much more detailed vines if you like, but I'm going to keep the details quite simple for this one. I'm just going to make these leaves and vines out of lines. You'll see that in a minute once I finish drawing these leaves onto the vines there. Got a few more left to do. And I mean, of course, you can add other things. I mean, you can add little swirly lines, you can add flowers, or you can add whatever you want, different shaped leaves even. You could thicken, I mean, you can make it look much more dense. But this is my favorite part here, is just adding the texture, the contour lines on the inside of the leaves. Now doing this gives it like a little more dimension as opposed to just having a plain old leaf. But once you've got a few of them in the one place, it kind of starts taking a little bit more of an intense shape. Doesn't that look cool? Oh my God, I love drawing these. But yeah, just go around, get it done. I also like to sort of go over the outer edges a little bit and maybe even sort of point the tips a little of the leaves when I'm doing this particular step. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to thicken, just roughly thicken the vines, not anything too dramatic. And I'm not being too fussy about how neat it is, because the next step after this, I don't know if you'll like it. It might throw you off, but it might not be your thing. So if you've got any ideas and you want to go off onto your own tangent from here, you go for it. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a sort of rough edge to these window frames. And I'm going to do that for every single one. I don't know, I just like the way that it looks, and I just felt this vibe, and it was just how it was. So it's also really satisfying to do like a rough sketch line. I just find it really satisfying to not sometimes be so particular and so perfect with the straight lines. Giving it a rough sketch line is also quite satisfying. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to also do the same on the insides with my fine liner though. So I just used a thicker marker, a medium size brush, not brush, sorry, a medium size nib for the thickening of the previous lines. But this one here on the inner line, I'm just using just a fine liner, Stabilo Sensor, which is I think a 0.7 or a 0.8, which is just enough for what I wanted to do. And doesn't that look cool the way that it is? Like, even if you leave it like that, I think that looks so good. I'm just going to get some highlighters though, and I'm going to do like a really rough, sketchy background. You may not like this, to be honest. I'm not sure if I like this, but I like to try new things, and I've seen this kind of technique in the past, and just like a rough sketch lines and just a really sparse sort of coverage of hatching lines. And then I'm just going to go over the frames with this grey colour. By the way, these colours are so beautiful. They're called nature colours. I don't have to promote these people, but like, I do love Stabilo. And this particular highlighter range is called nature colours, and they are truly natural, beautiful, not so highlighted highlighters. So yeah, that's the result, and that's what it looks like. See you next time.